Welcome back to Cookie Tactical. Today we are just going over my rifle setup, specifically my CQB fighting rifle, if you want to call it. Before we get into that, I just want to say continue to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification so you get notified of new videos, and share the channel with a friend. Comment, do all that good stuff. Helps the algorithm, helps the channel grow. Enough about that. Let's get into it. So I'm kind of just going to go through how I set this up. I specifically use this for training, CQB stuff, and basically home defense, because home defense is going to be like a CQB type setup. But like I said, there's many ways to set up your rifle. This is just the way I have this particular setup, and that's what we'll talk about today. So first and foremost, this is my 11.5 BCM enhanced light. I really like BCM products. Now, it's not a full BCM build, and I'll talk about all that as the video goes through, but I really like using their uppers. So this is an 11.5 BCM upper with a different lower. Like I said, as I go from tip to butt, I'll go talk about all the products, but I really like their stuff, specifically their blem stuff, guys. I got this upper on a blem and saved about $200. They have a blem section on their website. Check it out. I've yet to been able to find a blem, and I have 3 uppers from BCM. I've never seen a blem, and I spray them anyway with rattle can, so it doesn't matter to me anyway. So let's get into how to set up your rifle for a CQB type setup. So I'm going to just go from tip to butt. I have an A2 flash hider on here. It is kind of a Gucci one, and I don't believe in spending money on an A2 flash hider. Got it as a gift, and it's cool. It's a Huxworks A2 QD flash hider, and I do like the gift because if I ever run a can right now because they're not legal in my state, but I have the QD attachment from Huxworks, and they make nice cans to attach right to this. So, but like by no means do I feel like I don't get any like real performance from this. I feel anyway. It is nice. It's kind of like a twist style A2 flash hider, but it just looks cool. A regular A2 flash hider that's $20-$30 would have sufficed. If you're talking muzzle brakes, a little different. And on other builds, I do have to use a muzzle brake, but again, not going to get into all that. The upper is, like I said, BCM, so stock BCM barrel. They're enhanced light, so the enhanced light has some enhanced products. They have that thermal fit up handrail, so it's a really nice tight fit, which I like. BCM makes really nice stuff. The rail is nice and thin, and I like that because just the way I grip it, I don't like really big rails. It's a mixture of I've used quad rails before, and they're just really big in the hand. I really like the size of this rail. M-lock, of course, has M-lock attachments. You could attach any type of M-lock to it. I have the BCM handrail guards here just for heat purposes, and exactly where I put my hands when you're shooting the rifle, it starts to get hot. As far as a light, guys, I really feel like everybody should have a white light on their setup, specifically for home defense. I came in from law enforcement. We had to have one on our on our pistols and on our patrol rifles, and even so when I went into ERT, we had more leeway with how we set our stuff up, but definitely you should get a white light. Now, this is a Gucci style white light. It's a Modlite. Expensive light, but you get what you pay for. They're really good lights, but there's a lot of other option lights out there, budget style. And before this, I was using Streamlight, like the HLX, which was a great light. I've moved to Modlite, and I really like their stuff. The light is really good. This is the PLH V2 head, so you're going to get a real decent hotspot, but you get a nice spill too. So for PID, positively IDing, you want a really good light, and that's kind of when I went to Modlite. Their candela is high and true candela. As far as the lumens don't really matter. Candela is where it's at. But when you put this light compared to like a Streamlight and other lights, you really see where this light shines. I have a 100 Concepts cap on there, and that's just for NDs. If you do hit your your light, you're not going to show your position or have a negligent discharge of your white light unless you want to. You flick that up when you want to use it, keep it down when you don't. And also, daytime glare off of your lens there, you could keep it covered as well. Also serves that purpose. I have gotten a question on how to set them up. You want this tab up because they're one-handed. You could just flip up the light. I've seen a lot of guys mounting it the other way, and you kind of have to come up and flip. I just think that's the way it was intended. You just put your hand right here, flip them up, and it gets out of the way. As far as the light is FDE, if you see it there, I'll kind of show you guys. I don't know if the light, let me get the light here a little bit for you guys. Let me move this over so you guys can see. Let me see. Hopefully that shows it better. There. You guys could see there. It's FDE. Sorry, it's FDE, the light, but I have a Reese wrap on there, an OD green. Just kind of just the looks, doesn't help it, doesn't give you any performance, but I like using the Reese wraps, just takes the shine out of things. I'm just running the Ranger green Reese wrap on that light. They have a few different bodies. I like the 650 bodies, the 18650, just because you get more runtime. It doesn't add that much more size. I mean, I feel like 18350s are like, they're the small bodies. I mean, unless you have a really, really small platform, I get it. Like if like on a Flux or something like that. But on any type of AR, I would use an 18650. You get double the runtime, and it's not that much bigger. I like running the Unity gas cap, guys. This is what is right there. I've used the Surefire stuff for a very long time, and it's been out forever. I would say 20 plus years, but I had issues with them. They're finicky. Sometimes you hit them and they kind of have a little delay or they flicker. I've had really good luck with this Unity gas cap. Unity doesn't have the best customer service all the time. I'm going to just throw that out there, but they make good products, so it is what it is. But this is the gas cap. Really like its polymer, really robust, uses the USB-C link for a switch. Now you don't have to use a switch. Has a clicky cap, which is also nice too for manual, so you could click it on, click it off if you're not a switch kind of guy. And we'll talk about my switch setup when we get to it. So you have that option, but I really like that gas cap, that tail cap over a Surefire tail cap. The mount for it is the Overbore Systems swivel, so it lets you swivel the light, and it just lets me get it as close to the rail and to my laser unit as possible, opposed to using like the offset Arasaka mount or inline mount. Inline mount's nice. It kind of, mounts it in line, but you don't have the movement here. If you don't want your light close to your rail or laser unit, I could swivel it out of the way. Also easy to get to. A lot of times when you're running those mounts, sometimes you have to take the mount off to just, service anything on the light. If you need to take a cap off or whatever, I like this. If I want to swivel it all the way out, I can. So I have options there. So I really like that part about it. And again, you could swivel it all the way closed with it. It's M-LOK, but they do make Picatinny mount as well. Overbore Systems, really nice. Mounts to any type of like Scout style, mounting. So any Arasaka bodies, all your Surefire lights, Mod lights, cloud defensive lights, etc. But I really like that. Recently went to those just because I can mount everything, like I said, very, very close to the rail, nice and compact. Now we'll go to my laser unit, which you see here. This is the Iris G3 from Holosun. Really nice laser unit. You get Viz laser, you get your night vision laser, your IR laser, and you get V-cell technology with the illuminator. That technology is really where it's at. And for the price point, it's great. When I was at work, I used a PEC. Nice, but for under $1,000, guys, for the civilian market, I really, really like it. Yes, guys will say Chinesium, and there's guys out there that are using like the Somo gear and SMS. I think this is better. I really like Holosun stuff. I used their optics, never had issues with it. The illuminator on this thing is really, really nice. Laser's really, really nice. It's a nice unit for sub $1,000. When you're talking about laser units, they could get up there. And yeah, the top ones are going to be like the Maul, the Raid X from, I'm forgetting the brand now, Wilcox. But they're money, man. They're going to be, $3,000. This is a third of the cost, and it's a really, really nice unit. Battery in the front here takes one CR123 battery. The illuminator, kind of focus beam is right on top. Nice tactical click. You have your button here to power it, to put the laser on, your power button, and that kind of engage button is up here too. So if you don't want to use a pressure switch, you don't have to. It's right up here, easy to get to, right where your grip is, right on top here, which is nice. And I'll talk about why I mount it that way as well. The toggle switch on the back, if you guys could see, kind of move the button. Here is where you toggle it to go IR, vis laser. It's kind of like a dial. Not the easiest to get to, especially if you're wearing gloves hard, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's going to have some downfalls. I didn't say it's amazing. I think it's really great for the price. I think it's a good laser, but it has some, shortcomings, and it's the switchology, I would say, on the back there. It's kind of like, if you could see it, it's just a straight switch that you kind of have to turn. It's not the easiest to turn, so you really have to get on there, but it's something that you just train with to get used to it and do it. It's just a little tough with gloves. What else on that unit? That's basically it. It definitely needs a diffuser, and I have one on there. It's Villain Weapon Systems makes that diffuser, and I'll link these companies in the description, guys. Needs a diffuser. If you're going to say, well, what's a diffuser for? When you're running night vision nods and you're using your illuminator, especially in a CQB type setup where you're indoors, short distances, that illuminator, although very great with the iris, it's a really focused beam that gets a lot of glare, and it's hard to positively DC targets. You get a lot of glare, especially on short targets indoor. What a diffuser does is it makes that field of view 40-50 degrees, and makes it a big floodlight. So now you have a big array of light, definitely needed for indoor type setups, CQB, etc. So definitely needs a diffuser. Doesn't come with one stock, just comes with like a rubber cap that you take off when you add this guy from Villain Weapon Systems. But definitely awesome product, must for this unit, I believe. What else on this unit? I did Ranger wrap it with Reese wraps, or Ranger wraps makes them too. That's another company. This is a Reese wrap. But what I do like is the mounting too. The real coil has a recoil lug, so the mounting's really solid on this thing. I know, like, my buddy has a Somo gear. He had issues with his rail; it wasn't fitting right. He also had issues with the unit; it stopped working after a while. So that's why I say, when you're shopping and people are saying Chinesium, I really don't feel like this is in that bracket of the SMS and Somo gear, which are like $300-400. I think this is kind of in a bracket of its own, not really reaching the Raid X and the BE Myers and all that stuff. I get it, but it's kind of like, I think it's the best for the price point. The other ones are technically airsoft units, and I don't know. I've just heard issues. Really, really like this guy. That's all I could say on that. What else? Am I missing anything on it? No, that's it. Solid mount. All that. Now, I was talking about mounting. I like mounting it here. I did try a GBRS mount on this platform and didn't really care for it. Not that I think it's a gimmick, the GBRS. I think it has its place for very, very small platforms, but I just didn't really like, I had to run a long ass cable to get to my laser. Just wasn't really needed. I like running the Unity mounts, and we'll get to it when we get there. But the reason I like mounting in the front here is, even though I run a pressure switch on my rifle, I could still get to manually on. Right here is part of my grip. I'm right on the laser perfectly. And if I need to get my white light, I kind of just shift my thumb over. Yes, it's a little weird grip, but I can engage my white light if I want, if my switches were to go down. So that's why I like mounting my stuff there. I really, have another setup where I like mounting it just like that, so I could get to it if I didn't have to use, if I wasn't using switches, or, I had a cable that got ripped off or something. Anything can happen, guys. You always want to plan for, something going down. So I could get to it manually, which I like. I don't know if I said this. The Iris takes the crane plug on the back, so it's a crane plug. My light is a USB-C link from like Mod Button, or Unity, etc. Now let's go to the switches. I want to talk about this a little bit. because finding switches is not easy, and finding something that you like, that's like ergonomical, that works right. So I was trying a lot of switches. I did use the Unity Axon switch for a while. It's kind of raised. I did the dual switch, which gives you a sync function. What's the sync for? The sync syncs your white light with your vis laser. Now, there is a debate whether, vis laser should be used. From a law enforcement guy standpoint, we used vis laser a good amount, especially early on days when, we were using any type of like NBC mask and stuff. We used it for primarily aiming because we had co-witness mounts, right? So we had low mounts. We weren't really using high mounts, and that was a source of aiming. But we used it for communication, de-escalation, a lot of things. But I like the sync function of the white light with the lasers. Not for everybody. I'm just kind of throwing that out there because there's always going to be a debate on this, and I'm sure somebody will comment like, "There's no need for, vis laser, etc." Whatever. But that's what drove me to that Unity switch, was that it had a sync feature where you can sync your your raised button for white light and laser. Liked it. The issue was it didn't always work, and they do state that it doesn't work with every laser, so just be mindful of that. The other thing I wasn't too up on was that the switch was very, very pressure sensitive. It's a raised switch. It was up in the front. I did like where my finger placement was, but on recoil, if you touch that thing, you were having, an ND with it. And it was kind of, robust. It did raise it enough. I did see it in my sight picture a little bit, not the biggest deal. So what I'm saying is, switches are something that you really have to play around with and see what you like. So I went back to just the mod buttons, which are just flat switches that are in this unit, which I'll talk about in a second. And they worked fine. It's just, pressure switch for my light, pressure switch for my laser. They run independently, no sync, right, with this setup, which is fine, not the end of the world. But the buttons were flat, liked them. Then I found this guy from Emissary Development. It's called the Alternator. Really cool switch. If you could see it right here, guys, it's right there. So it's not too raised, but what it encases is the two switches. So on the front, or you could do it any way you want. So on the front, I have my white light switch, and on the back, I have my laser switch. They're mod button switches. They're just inside. It holds two switches in this unit. So it holds them in, and it gives you a different texture for the front, different texture for the rear. There's also a button in the middle, which I'm going to talk about. But I like it because it's raised enough, but not too much, and it's kind of exactly where my grip is, so it works perfectly. It has the raised edge on it, so if you're putting pressure down, you're kind of not hitting that button. That happens a lot with pressure switches, in your grip. You could also, ND, just because of, you're putting your grip in and you accidentally hit. So I do like that it has raised edges. But the cool thing about it is, with this alternator from Emissary Development, the middle switch, that if you look on it, looks like a little on button. Mind you, they come in black and FDE. I just Cerakoted mine OD green because I wanted it green. So if you see it green, that's why it did that. I did that on my own. You could do it on your own if you want to, but they make it in FDE in black. FDE I would have got, but it was sold out. But anyway, you hit that middle switch, the middle switch, not metal switch, middle switch, and it basically does a sync feature. It pushes both switches at the same time, so you could run white light and vis laser, which was awesome because it's not a sync switch, but it works the same. So I gave it a shot. So far, really liking this module. It's just a module. You have to get the mod buttons yourself, and you put them in the unit. Emissary just makes this outer unit, which is called the Alternator, and really, really like it. Really ergonomic. I like where my finger placement is now. Right here is from white light, lasers here, and like I said, I have that middle button, which will sync both, which will give me, it's basically pressing both buttons at the same time. So the way I have it, I would have it with white light and vis laser. It works for that. So that was just a plus. And again, I really like it over the Unity. I'm saying that because the Unity switch isn't cheap, and I know guys have asked a lot of me questions on it. I was just having issues. It didn't always work with the Iris. It was kind of on and off. Like sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. So that was an issue for me. So far, really liking the mod buttons. You could get, the mod buttons depending on what kind of, plug you have. For me, it's the USB-C link for the front and the crane for the Iris, and it's in that unit from Emissary Development. I'll tag them in the, like I said, in the description. But really, really nice unit. Holds them in there nice and secure. And like I said, you could feel the texture too. It's a little different for your front button, a little different for your rear button. They make two versions, a fenced and a non-fenced. The fenced just has that raised edge, like I said, for if you are putting downward pressure on it and you're not on the button, but the button's really near it. Without the fenced, you might, ND it. This one just gives you a little more raised. So if you're on it, but you don't want to engage any light, any laser, you won't. And then another thing I want to talk about is cable management. When you start adding lights and lasers, you have cables. And I've seen this at classes. I've seen this with guys I train with, and they just have the cables hanging everywhere. It drives me nuts. It's a snag hazard. It's just out there. It really messes with my OCD. Manage your cables, dude. You know what I'm saying? Number one, you don't want to get something snagged in and just rip it, and it could snag on anything. As your rifle's, slung down, it could get caught on, a pouch, on anything, and you could just rip it out, and that's going to be a bad day. Where if you keep your cable secure, nice to the rail, you never have to worry about it. So Emissary Development also makes these cable management kind of M-lock tabs. So they have a double. See how nice and clean it keeps there. So all my cables are nice and tight to the rail, so they're not hanging anywhere, just so you guys could see. So super, super clean setup. Really like those. Those are also from Emissary Development. They're just little polymer clips. They have a double and a single. The double's right here. You guys could see that's the double. That's the single. I also have one up here that's under the light, just to keep all the cables nice and lined, so the cables aren't everywhere, because you do have a good amount of cable when you set up these units. The smallest you're going to get are 7-inch cables, and unless you're running your laser far back or whatever, you're gonna have to kind of wrap that cable. Some guys use camo form wrap. I've done that in the past, but this is just a super clean way. I don't run camo form anyway. You always have to change it. And with a pressure pad with camo form, you really are covering your whole switch unit, which I also didn't like that about camo form. So great way to keep your cables in check and managed. What else? For my vertical grip, or handbrake, it is the handbrake, but stoppy or whatever you want to call it. This is from Emissary Development. I've tried a few different, like I was using the B5, typical vertical grip, but I wanted more of this kind of like stoppy or hand, handbrake style. But Emissary Development makes this as well. It's really, really nice. What I like about it is that it fits all my 3 fingers as I curl, around the rifle and go on my grip. I was using the dye-free company, it's not the Kung Fu, Tiger Claw. Was nice. It was just a little small for my big hand, so like my pinky was coming off of it. I didn't like it. Also, what's cool about this Emissary Development, it's a polymer, but with like a rubber inlay, so it's really, really nice on the hand. It just fits really, really perfect. It's nice. My hand is exactly where I need it to be for my switches, and that's something you're going to have to play with when you're going to put your switch housing. Sometimes with a laser unit and all that, doesn't line up exactly where you need it to be. Really all the way on the front would be also nice, just to extend your hand, but you have to, kind of sacrifice a few things. If you're running a laser, there's only so much rail space I have on an 11.5, right? So you kind of have to, strategically put everything, try it out, see how it works, break it down again, move things. I've had to do it, but right now I have it really where I like it set right here. As I come up, it's right here. I could switches, no problem. I don't feel like I'm reaching far back for laser and kind of breaking off my grip, which that was an issue with the Unity Axon switch unit I had. So that, again, this is the Emissary Development Handbrake X, I believe. They have a few models, but this is the one that has the rubber inlay in OD green from those guys. I didn't Cerakote that. They Cerakoted that one. They have a few colors you could choose from. What else? Moving on the upper. Let's go to my optics. I am running the Ames Pro X2, the newer version of the Ames. They took some parallax away, about 50% less parallax. I'm running the gold reticle. Really like it. Before that, I was running the green reticle, which I like. I put that on one of my other rifles, but I really like the gold. It's really nice, crisp, and clean reticle. Can't say enough about it. And again, guys are going to be like, oh, it's Tunisium. I've been using Holosun since like 14. Never had an issue with it. I think for the money, this is one of the best optics out there. Nice, a large window, super clear dot. It's the MRS, so you have 3 different reticles to choose from. The EOTech style reticle, 65 MOA with the dot in the middle. You have the Ghost full 65 MOA ring. I've never used that, and a 2 MOA dot. If you just want to use a dot. So like I said, you have the 3 3 reticles with that. It comes in red, green, or gold now. I just really like the gold. I tried it and I actually put it on my other rifle because I really, really like it. So I'm running two rifles with it, with that gold reticle. So the Ames for the optic. Unity mount, really like it. Some guys don't like the height of the mount. I do, especially if you're running nods, training under a gas mask. Yes, you could use Co 1/3. I know you can lower mounts, but just makes life easier. I really like that, heads up display on it. I'm not breaking my neck down and feeling it. I'm up here, nice, exactly where I want to be, and works well, like I said, when you're shooting under nods and all that. So Unity mount with the QD, just because I like running a QD on it. Bolt group is the BCM enhanced that came with the upper, so nothing done there. Charging handle is the Radian Raptor charging handle. Like it, very robust, easy to get ambidextrous, so it's nice and easy to charge and get to with gloves and all that. So that was a good upgrade. That it didn't come with the rifle. Actually, quickly now, when you do order these uppers from BCM, they give you the option for this Huxworks A2 flash hider. I saw that recently, so you could get this flash hider if you want. It's pretty much on the upper. We went through everything, right? Light, mounts, all that. Yep. All right. Let's go into buttstock. Can't have a buttstock or it would be an NFA item, so it is a brace. This is the SBA4 brace. I like it over the 3 a little bit. I feel like it's a little more robust. What is a must-have is this flatline Fiberco strap. Really stiffens the brace, because when you're shouldering it before with the cheap brace, with the cheap strap that comes with the stock SB, all the SB braces, it's rubber, right? So you would feel it kind of flexing and breaking down. This really stiffens it, and it feels like a stock. So really cool product from Flatline Fiberco. It's called the brace strap, but that's what it's for. It's really to brace the back of this and really get it more rigid. This is a cheek riser for the SBA braces. I didn't find a lot of companies, but this one is Cicada Research. I'll link them in. Just found them doing a search, and they make a nice cheek riser because I am running a riser on my optic. So just to get me that cheek weld, like using the cheek riser there, helps out with that. It's just a little piece that clips on, about $30, I believe. Cicada Research was the company. Buffer tube and spring is, I believe, a blue Springco H2 buffer working well. That's something that sometimes you have to play around with. So I don't like really giving recommendations on, buffer systems. And let's go into the lower. Nothing fancy there. It's a Radical Arms lower. Or is this my Anderson? This is my Anderson lower. So I just had lowers. My other rifles are Radical. Lowers a lower for me. Yes, there are some nice Gucci lowers. I just don't like spending money on them. This started off with a budget rifle. I started upgrading the pieces as I went. So kept the lower. The internals are different, as inside I'm running a Giessele Super Tricon trigger. So it's a hybrid in their trigger shoe. It's not completely curved like a mil-spec trigger, but it's a little flat, so it's in between flat and a curve. I believe they did it in conjunction with a Navy SEAL. It's like the SSAE style trigger, just in with that trigger shoe. So it's called a Super Tricon. Really like it. It's a 2-stage trigger, but really like it. Nice crisp clean break. That's something that, if guys are on a budget and you want to do like one upgrade to your rifle, I believe getting a good trigger is a really good thing to get. Yeah, great upgrade for you guys is doing a trigger. Really see dividends out of that. But I used the mil-spec trigger for a long time before I upgraded. What else? Safety selector is also upgraded. It's a 55-degree Griffin armament. Like it, just a short throw. Like the way, it engages and all that. So again, safety is a safety, but I like running an ambi, and I do like the 45, or this one's a 55, so it's just a little more. So I do like running that. The bolt catch is a Maritime Giessele. I believe the Giessele Maritime. I just tried it because a buddy gave it to me, and I like it. It's just nice to engage with gloves, if that makes sense. So it's easy to get to, and I might add them onto my rifles. It's right here. My sling's in the way, but I don't know if you guys could see it. Right there is the Giessele. It's called the Maritime from Giessele. Like I said, a buddy gave it to me. Like it, like I said, very easy to engage with gloves. So I probably am going to order another one and put it on my other rifle because I'm digging it. What else? Mag release is an extended. Forget the company. Might have been Griffin Ornament. Just extended. Just gives you a little more, press on it for faster reloads. And I do have some. I believe they're KW anti-walk pins. That's just something that came to me, like I got it for free from somewhere and I threw them in. They're just anti-walk pins, so your trigger pins have a screw on there so they don't walk out. Is it needed? Meh, just something that I got. I had them for free, so I threw them in there. Since I'm talking about the lower, it's there. Trigger guard is a mag pull. I just like the little bigger trigger guards in the stock because if you're wearing gloves, it just gives you a little more room. And one thing that I do think is a great add-on, this is like an old school product, and I don't know if people are still using them. When you have that wobble in your AR, depending on high-end ARs will not have it, when you're getting a Gucci rifle, they're really tight. But you know what wobble I'm talking about, especially if you fit an upper with a different lower. Sometimes you have a lot of wobble. These are the JP Industries oversized pins, and this thing doesn't move at all. It's super tight, and I like that. They make oversized and extra oversized. These you have to kind of see which ones you need. These are just the oversized, but man, they make this rifle super tight, and I like it. Best like $30 I've ever spent. And I say that's an old school product because it's been around for a long time, but I always pick up guys' rifles and they're wobbly as hell. I'm like, hey man, why don't you throw some pins in there? And they're like, what pins? So maybe people don't know about them. JP Industries has these oversized pins. Definitely nice if you want to take out that nasty wobble that you have with ARs. Not the wobble in your stock, which happens. The wobble in your upper to lower receiver. And anything else on the lower besides that? The grip, I change a lot. Was using the B5. Now I'm using the Die Free company. Liking it. I don't know if my hand feels a little too big for it. Still kind of playing with it. I have Emissary Development sending me a grip. I'm going to try that one. That's something that I am searching. I have larger hands. I like the lower wrist angle of like the B5. This die-free gives you that nice angle where it's natural, right? Because when our wrists are this way, right, the trigger, that's not natural. Really, you need your wrist this way for nice, back and forth trigger pulls. So that's the angle you want. But again, still kind of playing with it. I like the texture of this grip. This is the Kung Fu grip from Die Free Company. So that's what I got there with their plug installed. Just gives me a little more room for my hand too. Like I said, I have big hands. So kind of playing around with that. And anything else that I missed? No. And lastly, let's talk Sling. Slings are slings. I don't really, get too much into them. Get what feels good for you. I like the GBRS slings. This is I believe their second best sling. Has a nice pad, not too big. Easy tab to adjust your sling back and forth, which I like. And also I like putting the like Faro Concepts makes the QD Tri-Glide to make it from a 2-point to a 1-point, meaning that if you have your sling on here, you want to go to a 1-point, you take it off your QD and go into the QD of your Tri-Glide here. Get to it. And now it acts like a 1-point, so you have the best of both worlds. You have a 1-point sling here and a 2-point when you unclip and go back into your rifle QD. So that's a little tri-guide that you buy. Just a good little product to have if you want, to run at 1-point, which are good for transitioning from, right hand to left hand to your offhand and whatnot. I like using that. QD on your rifle for it. Sling is definitely a must. I know some guys that I've seen that don't use a sling, and I'm like, what are you doing? So whatever, like I said, get a sling, whatever works for you. There's tons of slings out there. You don't want to be spending tons of money. Most slings are going to cost you about $70-$80, depending if they come with QDs and stuff. What's cool about the GBRS is they have everything as a kit, so you get the Tri-Glide, QD, the QDs, the rifle sling. I think everything for like $100, so not a bad deal. And lastly is this guy right here that you see. That's from Gray Fighter Gear. Awesome guy over there, Joe from New York, local, makes the SRC 1, SRC 2, SRC 3. This is the SRC 1. It's just a thinner version, but what it is sling management, right? Instead of running a band that you always have to change out or brakes, this is a nice elastic Velcro band that keeps your sling nice and stowed. Just rip it off when you want to use it. So if you're in a vehicle, you're not going to get your sling snagged on anything. So you just, stow your sling like you saw before and put that over it. And must have, you definitely want to keep your sling stowed, whether you're going to be using Ranger bands or, some guys use like paracord stuff or shot cord. This is just nice because you don't ever have to change it, and it keeps it really secure. And that's it, guys. That's basically how I have my 11.5 CQB style gun that I use for home defense. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions on it, let me know. I'm kind of just looking to see if I missed anything on it. But if you have any questions on the products I use or how I set up my switches, hit me up in the comments. And that's it, guys. Just wanted to show you that one. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what your go-to fighting rifle setup is, and I will see you on the next one. Dale, mi gente.